There can be only one, which sounds wonderfully simple until you notice how many immortals spend their lives looking for ways around it. Evil immortals are always trying to cheat the game, and I don't just mean the obvious stuff, guns, smoke bombs, hostages. Savior St. Cloud can keep that department. I'm talking about immortals who looked at the game itself and decided the real advantage wasn't a better sword. It was controlling what happened before the sword fight. And Kiem Sun is where this gets interesting, because his story is not just as simple as evil scientist makes super drug. In Road Not Taking, Kiem Sun admits the drug did not start as a weapon. He says he genuinely wanted to help mankind. Then he spent centuries hiding from the game, and the longer he stayed away, the more frightened of it he became. Eventually, that fear changed what the drug was for. Kiem tells Duncan he wants a small army, hundreds, maybe thousands of men who would obey him, attack any immortal he chose, weaken that immortal, and leave Kiem to take the head. That's a hell of a way to improve your swordsmanship. Just let a few hundred people do the difficult part first. But Duncan immediately points out the flaw. That'll not work at the gathering. Kiem will be on his own, according to Duncan. So Kiem Sun does not prove his plan can beat the game just because Duncan said so. But he reveals the instinct. If you're afraid, you can't win the duel, so change the conditions of the duel. Gavriel Larca takes that somewhere much darker. In Littleton God, we watch Larka shoot Derek. Derek dies. Then Derek wakes up in the morgue with Larka standing over him, claiming he healed him. And then Larka tells him that he is God. That lie works because Derek has no better explanation yet. He has just discovered that death does not work on him, and Larka gets to explain the miracle first. By the time Duncan meets Larka's three young disciples, they don't think they are immortals playing the game. They think they are angels, that Larka is God and Duncan MacLeod is Satan. The episode also shows that Larka had allowed the Mochi people to worship him as a god more than a century earlier. He already understood what immortality could look like to somebody who did not know what an immortal was. Now he weaponizes that ignorance, and his plan for Duncan is viciously practical. One disciple is supposed to fight Duncan alone and die. Duncan takes the quickening. While Duncan is weakened by it, the others take his head. One of Larka's own followers is not really a warrior in that plan. He's ammunition. Larka's not just breaking the one-on-one rule, he's trying to use the mechanics of the quickening itself against another immortal. Then we get to Jacob Kell, and this is where I need to put a continuity marker on the table because Kiem Sun and Larka belong in the television series. Kell comes out of Highlander Endgame. In a minute, we're even going to be jumping to the animated series, which has different rules again. I'm not pretending that this happened in one clean timeline. I'm looking at a recurring Highlander idea. What happens when an immortal stops treating the game like a duel and starts building a system around himself? Kell surrounds himself with other immortals, his posse attacks together, they function less like independent contestants and more like force multipliers for Kell. And when these followers stop being useful, even their quickening becomes expendable to him. The details of the Last Supper vary between cuts of Endgame, but the relationship does not. Kell's people are assets, but every one of these schemes still hits the same bottleneck. We have to find immortals. Kiem can manufacture soldiers, not immortals. Larka can corrupt new immortals before they understand what they are, but he has to find them. And Kell can build a posse only from immortals who already exist. Nobody's directly making new players. And now we have to go to the cartoon because Highlander, the animated series, is its own continuity with a different future and a different version of the quickening. Most immortals have sworn off the old game, so I'm not using the cartoon to rewrite Duncan MacLeod's universe, but the double does something the live-action series never does. Fredrickson clones an immortal, and here's the important part. Fredrickson is not a villain. He's a janitor, and a geneticist trying to preserve knowledge and restore species lost after the Great Catastrophe. He creates a genetic double of himself from his own cells, partly because he could be used to deceive Cortan if Cortan came for him. The experiment goes horribly wrong, as it always does. The clone becomes violent. It wants to become the last immortal. It wants the prize. And Fredrickson admits he didn't realize his clone would also be immortal. So this is not merely a clone that thinks it belongs in the game. Fredrickson tells us it is immortal. An immortal was cloned, and the result was another immortal once. That word matters because Fredrickson did not prove that he could mass produce immortals. He didn't build an army of clones. We do not know whether another attempt would produce another immortal, whether immortality was copied genetically, or whether something else happened that the episode never explains. It gives us one successful case. And at that time, Fredrickson says he does not plan to make any more clones. And that's interesting wording. He does not say he can't repeat the procedure, but I'm not going to turn that into proof that another clone would also be immortal. And then the clone dies. This is the part that bothers me, because when I watch that scene, it sure looks like a lot of electrical energy leaves his body and goes straight up into the atmosphere. And I'm not going to tell you that that proves that we watched a normal quickening. There is no obvious recipient, and the continuity handles quickenings differently. Fredrickson later transfers his knowledge to Quentin without anyone losing a head. So I don't know what the discharge is. Maybe it's the clone's quickening being released with nowhere to go. Maybe it's simply the show's visual language for his destruction. And maybe it's something else. But I don't think that we can confidently say there was nothing there. Fredrickson didn't build an immortal factory. He built one immortal clone, and that changes the question. The mystery is no longer whether cloning an immortal can produce another immortal in this continuity, because it happened. The mystery is what exactly came with that copy and whether it could ever happen again. If that electrical discharge was a quickening, Fredrickson's laboratory copied more than flesh. If it wasn't, then we still have an immortal clone whose death does not behave the way we expect. And the episode never tells us why. Either answer creates a new problem. There can be only one sounds very different when somebody's already made another one.